Big thanks to Scalecraft Studios for this video. You'll hear more about them later on. Hey guys, Callum from Columbus Models here, and in this video we're going to be doing something a little bit different. Not having a build video, but we are going to be having a review video. And what we are looking at here is the Kaleido Colorworks by Gallery, and this is their metal range, specifically their Aluminium. Now, the reason I have this is because of a buddy of mine, Johan, who owns Scalecraft Studio here in New Zealand. He put a post on their Facebook page saying he's gotten a whole bunch of these different colors. He had about 3 of them, aluminium or aluminum, whatever. We say aluminium here, so in New Zealand, so I'm just going to keep saying that. So there's aluminium, a champagne gold, and a titanium color. And he put out a post saying, does anyone want to try this out? And I immediately went, yes please, because I have been looking at changing from enamel based metallic paints to acrylics just because of certain reasons. Just small room. I've got a small room, and I don't want to keep setting up air booth, spray booths, stuff like that. But so I said, yeah, I'll be keen, and I would really like to try the aluminium color because it's a color that I use quite often, especially if I'm painting anything with a metal finish or something like that. So in this video, which I will stress is not a sponsored video, I am doing this purely because Johan is a friend and I like to do things for friends. So I'll be doing this as a comparison between what I normally use for my painting versus this paint. So it's not going to be a comparison with like different brands, how they do stuff, all that, and which is the better one to use, all that. I'm not going to be doing that. This is purely what I normally use versus this new paint to see if I'm going to change to it. So yeah. Let's get into it. So here's the bottle to start with. It's quite nice, got a nice cap to it. One feature I do like, that if you can hear that, it does have a ball bearing in it as a paint shaker, which is quite nice because otherwise you have to get toothpicks out and start mixing things, and you get paint everywhere and you spill things, and all of the things I have done before, which is always wonderful to clean up, especially with enamel paints. The enamel paints, you use white spirit, well, I use terps to thin it down, which stinks to high heaven. And whereas this is a water-based acrylic, which will dramatically, lessen the amount of smell in the room. And also, yeah, terps is still cheap, but water is basically free, so changing to, say, a water-based would be quite nice as well, especially because I don't wear gloves or anything like that, so terps can get pretty rough on the skin. So I'm going to be looking for a change, and yeah, basically we'll get straight into having a look at this. So this is what I'm going to compare it with. So this is the Tamiya enamels. First we have the XF16 flat aluminium and the XF11 chrome silver. I've picked these out because these are the two that I usually use. Chrome silver if I want a more glossy finish on something, flat aluminium if I want a more, silver doped look, or just a flatter metallic look to it. But these are the two that I usually use, and then you mix it to combine it and all that. So I'll be comparing it with these two as my. And again, this isn't like a straight, professional review or comparison. This is just for my needs in my paintwork. So what I've done is I've put these all onto the back of plastic spoons, which I'm sure any seasoned modeler knows about whenever you're trying something. And of course, I have also black based the back of the spoon as well, so the colors are on the other side. This is just for the reveal, gotta be a bit flashy sometimes. So as usual, whenever you're doing anything with metallics, you do a black base just to try and bring out the colors so it reflects a bit more and stuff like that. So might as well just flip them over. So for XF16, that's the flat aluminium. As you can see, it's got a flat finish. Very nice for that sort of muted look, especially for aircraft if you don't want it too shiny. You know, 1950s jets, 1930s biplanes, yeah, that sort of finish. We have XF11, the chrome silver, and the aluminium from Kaleido. And I did write down the names, you know, the numbers on the back, just so you know which one's which, because I'll, you know, it was a blind sort of test. I didn't want to make sure that I knew which one was which. But as you can see, let's see if I can hold them up, so compare them a bit more. As you can see, the aluminium, which is the one on the right, the Kaleido one, actually stands out quite a bit from the other two colors. So you'll notice that the two Tamiya ones, you got the flat aluminium and the chrome silver. Chrome silver obviously being a high gloss, all of that, has a very, we'll say it's more on the blue side of the sort of metallic silvers and stuff like that. Try and get the light out. You see, it's a colder color, whereas you look at the Kaleido one, the aluminium, and it's got a much more of a warmer tone to it, which I'm actually quite liking. It's also got much more of a chrome-like finish to it, as you can basically almost see my entire reflection. You can kind of see me reflected in the paint there, which I haven't noticed until now because it's yeah, I had my light on. So you can see that it is significantly more metallic look. I mean, of course, these are, you know, the two Tamiya ones are not like, you know, specifically metallic type paint like, say, AK Extreme Colors or Extreme Metals or something like that. So, you know, these are more metallic tones versus metallic paint, but, you know, it still stands. Like the Kaleido one is much nicer in terms of reflectiveness, just overall metal look, and it does. I'm not worried to see it with enamels. For the first week, if you don't put any varnish down, you're very paranoid about touching them, because they take a bit of time to cure and to build up strength. After a week, they're nigh on impossible to, you know, scratch and all of that. I mean, well, no, it is possible, but it's a lot harder. Whereas acrylics off the bat are much tougher. So like with this paint, I am quite happy to try and scratch this up. You know, run a fingernail over it, and nothing's coming off. And this is for, like, metallic paints are usually quite fragile, depending on which ones you use. So I quite like that, and that is water-based as well, whereas the other two, especially the flat ones, I always have a bit of difficulty trying to keep them on. Now, if I was to do like a proper comparison, I'll be comparing this to, say, AK Extreme Metals aluminium or white aluminium or something like that, which I have used in the past. However, I don't really like those, so they're not on my roster. Yes, they look amazing. I've got some really nice finishes off them. However, there are two things about them I don't like. The first one being that they are lacquer-based. Not a fan of lacquer at all. It means that I have to buy separate thinning products and cleaning products and have an entire airbrush just for that, and I don't really like that. They smell the worst. They're terrible. My ex actually kicked me out of bed once. I was doing, you know, as I'm sure we all have a late night airbrushing session. You know, it was about 1 in the morning. I just finished, and I was nose blind to it all. I'd spent, you know, the last couple of hours, you know, smelling it, and I didn't realize that smell transferred onto me. So then of course I jump into bed, and immediately she wakes me up and throws me out of bed, saying that I, you know, have this really harsh chemically smell to me, and I'm forced into the shower at about 1 in the morning just to try and get rid of it. So that's one thing about the AK Extreme Metals I don't like too much. The other one is that they're all pre-thinned, which I'm not a big fan of for pre-thinned. I do have, say, SMS here for some colors that I wanted, but lacquer-based pre-thin paints I'm just not a fan of. I don't like, I like to thin paints myself. I like to have that sort of level of control, but also you get more value. I can get these Tamiya bottles, and I'll even get this and, you know, AK acrylics and stuff like that. I can get them to last for ages, just because I thin it myself. Whereas pre-thinned, I just find that you go through it much faster. So, so if I was to do a proper metallic paint comparison, yes, I should be using an AK one or something like that. But this is based on what I use versus new, not what other people or what I should be using, sort of thing. So, anyway. So, however, what I also wanted to do was, it's all good. They look good on the back of spoons, you know. However, we don't really paint spoons that much. We paint models, and of course, models specifically for these paints I use they're mainly on aircraft, and of course, aircraft have much larger surfaces. So. Of course, paint shades, they do look different when they're in on a larger area versus, say, highly concentrated like these when they're smaller. But also with, you know, different shapes, details, stuff like that. So I also grabbed one of my paint mules to do a comparison there. But before we go on to that, I'm just going to have a quick little shout out and explanation about Scalecraft Studio for my friend Johan, because I had the pleasure of meeting him at the Waikato Scale Model Show, and he's when it comes to passion in the industry, he is second to none. So he started his Scalecraft Studio store online, and I just want to give him a quick little shout out in this next little clip before we look at the paint mule. So we'll be right back. And of course, this video couldn't have been made possible without Scalecraft Studios. Again, this is not a sponsored or paid for video or anything like that. This is purely helping out a good friend of mine. So, Scalecraft Studios, he has been importing a whole bunch of stuff from overseas. He's just a small company trying to build himself up, and he's found a sort of a gap in the market in New Zealand, which is a whole bunch of stuff like figures, dioramas, stuff like that. So we're just going to have a quick rundown of some of the things he has. And the first off, if you are wanting figures, specifically alpine figures, you'll see here he has a ton of them. And of course, they've always been a little bit difficult to get your hands on over here in New Zealand. You've usually had to order them online, pay exorbitant postage fees, which we know what they're like. They're usually make up about 70% of the actual cost of anything. So he has a whole bunch of them, and you will have to be quick, because you can quickly see there he has a lot that are out of stock because he sells them so quickly. So if you want alpine figures, which are, you know, as I said, difficult to get here in New Zealand, go check him out. You will be able to find them. There's also something else that I am very excited about that he has been getting in. And of course, thanks to a bit of help from one of my friends, Andrew Measy, who you've seen on this video before, the Wellington vlog. He has been importing a whole bunch of value gear accessories for tanks and vehicles, and a whole bunch of diorama stuff as well. Value gear from Steve Munsell over in the States. Incredibly hand-sculpted casts. They are amazing in detail, and with the vastness of subjects, they're all fitted for certain tanks: Shermans, M10 Wolverines, Stugs, Panzer IVs, all sorts of stuff, even stuff for trucks, universal stowage like bags and tarpaulins and all sorts of stuff. And of course, available in 35th scale and 48, and you can see here there's just an absolute mountain of them. And of course, since he's buying them all in bulk, he can get them into New Zealand cheaper, so we get a cheaper price on them. Again, if you don't want to buy them separately from the States, go to Scalecraft Studios online. You'll be able to find them on Facebook and Instagram under the same names. So if you have any questions, of course, if you want to see if he'll order anything from online, please go talk to him. He is very cool to talk to. He is very passionate. And please let him know that I sent you, because it would be a great favor. Cheers. Okay, and we are back to show off how the paint looks like on a large surface. So here I have a very, very terrible kit of an F100D I believe it's a Pioneer 2 kit, which might be an X God knows what. As you can see, it's got more filler than plastic at this point, but that's besides the point. It's turned into a paint mule until I decide to strip it and try it again, which I might do in the next 10 years. Anyway, for now though, it's just going to be multicolored with different paints. So, as you can see here, on this wing we have the Tamiya flat aluminium, also known as XF16. On the tail we have the X11, the chrome silver. And on this wing we have the Kaleido Aluminium. And you can just see the differences in the large areas as well. So if you're going for a more brighter, glossier, more metallic finish, then this one just looks amazing compared. You have a really nice glossy sheen to it. If you get the light in the right way, it's almost mirror-like. The camera's not picking it up too well on this, but I think you'd probably need one or two more coats to manage that. But as you can see, it sprays on amazingly. I mean, this is sprayed 50-50, so it was something like 3 drops of the paint. So 3 drops of this and 3 drops of water. Mix that up, and I managed to paint the top of the wing here with tons of paint to go. I went over it 3 times just because I like to do light layers, just to build up the opacity and stuff like that. And you can see here that the coverage on it is just amazing. You can see how it looks when it's over a whole bunch of sharp details like the Tamiya putty we have in the corner here in the wing root. And you can see any sort of detail it just brings up quite nicely. It sprays amazingly, and I mean I don't even use a gallery airbrush or a badge or anything like that. I spray paint with the cheap Taiwanese $20 airbrush 0.3mm airbrushes you get off. I get them off Trade Me over here in New Zealand just because they're cheap, and I won't spend too much on an airbrush because I probably abuse the hell out of them, and yeah, I just find I don't need an expensive airbrush to get what I want. So yeah, but we can see here the differences. Of course, you have the flat aluminium, which I use for a lot of metal finish. Not so much metal finish, more the painted metal finish. So you get that in, say the de Havilland Vampire and Sea Venom, Gloucester Meteor. Those are very much painted on silver, down to silver dopes. You have more of a flat look to it, but and you can see the X11, the chrome silver is just it's sort of in between. It's an in between. So looking at this, will I ditch these colors? No, they still have a use. Specifically for, say, if I want to color off, say, this panel here with a different color to show it's got it's had a newer or an older panel put on or something, just change some of the colors a little bit. So these are going to be kept, but they're probably going to end up more as that sort of utility paint, I call them, as opposed to a main color. Because this one, for anything now, I've been trying to get something decent like this, but and I can get that with the AK extreme metals, but I don't want to use those. I want to use something that's less harmful for my lungs and for my skin. And this one is actually, it's doing it for me. I gotta say, like, it sprays on really nice. It has a really nice coat to it. It's got a really nice finish. And I do have a few models, few kits where I will be doing a silver, high metallic finish like this one. And I don't want to go to the AK Extreme Metals, but at the same time I was looking at these and looking at the tail, I could probably get away with it, but it's not quite what I wanted. I'd have to polish it a bit, get clear coat on it and all of that. Whereas this one has come up nicely. I do prefer it's got the warmer tone to it as opposed to colder tones of the Tamiya one, so it's got that more of a metallic look to it. It's got a nicer finish to it, and I also want to get onto acrylics for metals because when it comes to weathering as well, trying to weather enamels on enamel finishes, you have to use a lot of varnish, which I don't want to do. Occasionally it fails and it burns through, and especially I find like I like to use enamels because I can fix things easy enough. However, if it's something like say a bare metal finish, where if it burns through and it gets under there, you can't fix that. So metallics are one of those paints that you can't hide anything, which is my go-to usually. It bears all. Bare metal finishes bears all mistakes you make. So at the very least, if I can make sure that I don't screw up the paintwork at the same time, then that will be a bonus. So I think at the end of this, the Kaleido Acrylic Metal Aluminium from Galeri, I think this is going to end up as a regular, and I am definitely going to buy a few more of these to test out from Johan, because yeah, it's been a while since I've been excited to try out a new paint. I've tried a few and it's been, yeah, it's all right, but I won't really, I won't change too much from the standard Tamiya enamels or anything like that. But this one, this has done it. This has done enough. I think this is going to get me to start changing over from enamels being my primary to more detailing and weathering and utility versus mainstay, we'll call it. So yeah, but that's all I am going to say about this one. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This is the very first review I've ever done of a product, so if it's been a little bit amateurish, we'll say, well, you've seen the rest of my YouTube channel, so that's sort of the style I roll with. However, I do hope that you guys do check out Scalecraft Studios, especially if you're from New Zealand. I do know I have a lot of New Zealand subscribers now. So if you are in New Zealand, please go check out Scalecraft Studios. Again, I am not sponsored by him. This is just doing a favor for a friend. I wanted to do something nice for him because he's a really cool guy. However, if you do buy something from him, please let him know that you learned about Scalecraft Studios from me from this video. I'll appreciate it if you guys do that. And also, if you guys have used this paint as well, please comment. Let me know in the video comments below, because I want to know your guys' thoughts on it, because he wants to know if it's, something he'll continue on with and continue importing in, and I really want to do that. So please let us know your thoughts on it. But until then, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye for now.